You're listening to the all-new KBLU Radio Network. That's the Blue Raven Network. Visit our website at www.oneblueraven.weebly.com.
Often duplicated, never replicated. You're listening to the all-new KBLU Radio Network, Blue Raven Network.
The world of 1916 was complex, or the world of 1945 was complex. The world of 2016 is intensely complex. You'll be dealing with terrorists. You'll be dealing with hybrid armies. You'll be dealing with little green men. You're going to be dealing with tribes. You'll be dealing with national leaders and local leaders. You'll be dealing with politics and economics. You'll be dealing with direct fire and indirect fire. And you're going to be dealing with it all. And it's all going to be dealt with simultaneously.
Well, 11/11/2016. If you made it through today, then I guess the New World Order didn't have anything planned for the double pillars. Scott Hensler, Tinfoil Hat Club, thanks for joining. I'm going to have Chris Myers on as a guest again. We're going to continue with Gang Stalking. This will be part 2. Wednesday was part 1. Basically who, what, where, when, and how, and why, and we're just going to go into it. But I do want to touch on a few things. Again, I want to thank everyone for supporting. I'm going to discuss a subject here that why I do what I do, how your support is enabling me to do what I do. Sometimes there are things that we deal with here that are very heartbreaking. I've been discussing about the situation with the woman and her 2 children that were found in the lake in the car last week, and I've got a little bit of an update on that kind of came around to me, and so it's wow, big stuff. But again, I want to thank you. Scott Hensler Network was the old show. Tinfoil Hat Club is the new. I still keep up both websites on there. There's all kinds of information, the links to YouTube, all the teaching, Second Heaven Invasion, Hoodoo Voodoo, the condensed version for paperback, available through me. And so it's all there. And I've mentioned before that if you're financially in a situation, if you email me, I'll send you those books in PDF, okay? Because it's important for you to have that information to learn how to spiritually warfare, kick out demons, get the curses broke off you. Very important. Now, on Tinfoil Hat Club, I did some updates last night. You'll see 3 new videos on there. One is marked everything from the Federal Reserve to the wars and everything in between, basically. I'm going to recommend that everyone watch these videos. I didn't do them, someone else did, but they're accurate. They have the information necessary to bring you up to speed if you're still a little lost as to what's going on out there with the New World Order, how the Federal Reserve, the IRS, the government takeover, the Illuminati, how it all plays out. And then the other one is round earth, flat earth, all right? So all I'm going to ask about that is that you watch the video. Now, it's a little bit of a long one, but they did an excellent job. And if you've had questions or if you denied the flat earth, and I'm not going to stand and tell you yes or no on it, but I can tell you that this particular video makes a very, very good argument that even those in science cannot dispute. All right, so I really recommend it. And then there's another video on Leonardo da Vinci, the Last Supper, and the gentleman or whoever it is puts it into Adobe Photoshop or one of the others and mirrors it and then starts bringing them together, and you'll notice that there's actually reptilians that appear out of it. It's very bizarre. So just get a chance to watch that. Go with an open mind. I'm not saying one way or another, but it certainly is something I'm going to look into a little bit more. Okay? All right. Someone had sent me a little over a year ago Bibles, toys, rocks, cookies, colored tote bags, as a donation. And I was giving those out to the children. And that was, those kinds of things really help to a child that comes in that I have to pray for. I mean, they can be, newborns. They can be 1, 2, 5, 10, 12 years old. And so this particular situation that I'm going to address happened a little over a year ago, that when I had received these Bibles and the rocks and the colored tote bags and stuff, I immediately put it all together and gave them to one of the young girls that was brought in here. And, it's amazing, the small town and how things kind of work their way around. The young girl that they had brought in had been adopted. And they were having nightmares, trouble adjusting, things. And there was issues that did need to be addressed. So I did minister. I prayed. I broke, I bound, I cast out, I anointed, I did those things that I normally do, and there was a great change. There was a bonding of the new mother now and all this that was a godsend. And so here we are a year later. Now, unfortunately, in relation to that is the local event that I was talking about, the lake. I won't go into any detail. Tomorrow is the memorial or funeral for the mother and the 2 children, and it's still under investigation per the situation, but there's a relation to the young girl that I was just talking about. And so we discussed whether she would be attending since she's part of the family, and we decided to, since she was doing so well. Now, maybe a year ago I would have said no, but so she's going to go, but she had asked, before going to the funeral, she'd like to go see the guy that prayed for her a year ago. All right? Big stuff. So she's going to be in here tomorrow before going, and boy, is it going to be a powerful time. And I also told them that when they go, if there's an issue, to come back. So I'm going to leave the day open. So I've got some calls to make tomorrow, so please be patient. I got a lot of calls done today, but tomorrow's a big day. And so I'm giving you this information because I want you to be praying for this little girl. Okay, this is a big deal, all right? And it's going to be a big deal for me. But I can tell you the power of God is amazing. And this little girl has got a chance for a life that she wouldn't have had otherwise. And I tell you, it's because of breaking the things off and using the blood of Jesus Christ. That's all I can tell you. So pray for her and pray for me, all right? All right. Again, this is what we do here. All right. So if you're a listener and you're really not a believer in Jesus Christ or believe in God or whatever your situation is, you're always welcome. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to give you our side of the story. We're showing you what we do in relation to the issues of the world that are taking place, the New World Order, the Council on Foreign Relations, those things that, the Illuminati, the dark side, demons, fallen angels, how they all come together, reptilians and all this. So it's really for everybody. And so, just understand that, the example that I just gave is because of the power of Jesus. And I couldn't do what I do without it. So there's no way I can keep my mouth shut. All right? I've sworn to do the Great Commission of Jesus Christ, even though we talk about all kinds of subjects. The devil's in the details, but where sin abounds, grace abounds. And so God is always there to lend the hand needed necessary to make things right. But it's us as we stand, and we stand in our authority and our willingness to do, what is right. And so, here we are in these last days, which, is in full swing, as we're talking about, the gang stalking that's being perpetrated on millions of people worldwide. It isn't just the United States. It's all over the place. Same thing with demonization. Same thing with both of them at the same time. And a part of my job is to determine, what's going on and which one to address first. If I've got someone that comes in with multiple personalities, a healing needs to take place. And in that healing, then the demons have no legal right to stay there because of the crimes that were done to them that split them in the first place. So it's an experience every time someone comes in that seems to be different. Every case is different, and that's why we allow the Holy Spirit to lead us. It's the only way to do it. Now, we've got some big things coming up. We need to remember Trump is not in office. Even though he's going to be the new president, there's already opposition against the voting, challenges, recalls, potential wanting to ride over the whole thing. Now, this is all part of, false flag, trying to upset the masses. But what they really want is they want a civil war. And they want that so they can bring in the blue helmets. They can, activate the troops that already have boots on the ground here. And so this is a very touchy time. Again, this is why it's so important to be cleaned up and to have the information necessary so you're not broadsided by it, so you know what to think, you know how to react, you know how to deal with it, you know how to talk to other people. And, I've talked about this before. I'm a cat lover, and cats purr even when they're under a stressful situation. And the reason is it's one of the mechanisms to help calm them down. And so we need to understand that God's in control and that His hand is upon us when we are obedient. He hears our prayers when we are dedicated to Him and we are, not in the wrong direction. And so regardless of the situation, always be ready to know that God is going to work. And so that's where we're trying to get you at, is to be able to move forward when the time, is called. So like I said, Trump has not taken office for, and it's going to be a couple of months, so a lot can happen. Again, with the recall, can even swing over towards Hillary, bankruptcy, the economy crashing, another 9/11. You remember Bush Jr. was only in office a few months when 9/11 happened. Okay, notice that it was a Republican office. Now we have a Republican again. So this is how they operate. This is how they work. And so who knows, right? But the point of it is something's up their sleeve. Always is. They have an agenda. They're going to carry it out. Even though Trump is in office, it's still going to be business as usual. And again, they would just love to have a civil war. I mean, they orchestrated it back in the 1800s, and what a bloodbath that was, and a terrible situation that the country still has not recovered from. And I don't know whether you're familiar with the strongholds in certain areas because of the abominations that took place, the murder, the spilling of innocent blood. There's curses that have not been broke off of certain areas. So either way, again, nothing's really going to change, but the New World Order is just going to move forward to eradicate the population of the U.S. The Georgia Guidestones are their promise to do that, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not making this up, and some of you who do your research are very familiar with that. No, and it's why you listen to us. In the meantime, while we're waiting for the inauguration, chemtrails are continuing, cyber warfare, psychotronics, gang stalking, business as usual, human trafficking, abductions. Someone sent me some information about mothers being abducted. Then we have those women who are used as baby breeders, things for rituals and sacrifices. We've discussed that in great detail. This is our world that we live in. Let's wake up. Let's expose it. Let's stop it. punish the perpetrators, all right? There needs to be justice. That's right. Bill and Hillary Clinton need to be brought to justice. The Bushes, they need to be brought to justice, okay, for their crimes that they have been doing for a very long time. So, you know, it's an understanding that things are just not going to change overnight. If even if we were to come together, it's still going to be a battle. It's still going to be a fight. The question is, where are you going to stand? All right. So I want to thank Chris again for joining. Chris, I unmuted you. I'm just going to recap quickly on what we talked about on the last show, and reminding everyone this is part 2. That we did gang stalking and cyber warfare Wednesday, and Chris had a chance to talk about where she came from, what she experienced, her involvement, what she knew. We talked about, what are gang stalkers, what are targeted individuals, TIs, how it's taking place, why it's taking place. And so, Chris, with that, if you want to continue, you got something to say, go ahead and just jump in here and we'll get started. Go ahead.
Well, thanks, Scott. As a victim of gang stalking, I'm here to say that these victims, these TIs, targets, are being traumatized with pain, and I mean agonizing, fear, paranoia, to the point they don't know who to trust. The psychotronics that are placed upon them is no less than being put through pure hell and back. They're placed into another literal, almost dimension where life just snap your finger overnight has changed, and they are air stalked, some of them, ground stalked, most of them. They've got nanobots from the chemtrails being utilized on them, crawling on them, in them, being shot at them. Nanosensors, which are coming from the drones. In 2012, at midnight, they put over 30,000 more drones in the sky. So I've seen stories out there say it's going to be years from now, but it's not. I've looked up myself and seen the drones, these lights going by, even in the mountains, and I will get attacked. We're attacked sometimes, I know myself, with helicopters. But somehow I knew that the UAV hovers as well. They're always over our homes. And I started pointing out to people, trying to tell them I'm being followed by these things. I called them satellites. They're equipped with high level of Wi-Fi as well, beam weapons, direct energy weapons. And again, all of this is the backbone for all the power for this, coming through the cloud computing, is CERN. And there are many CERNs now. They started the first one up in the 50s. And so I believe that all the years of, there have been a very few I have met that have said they were gang stalked years ago. Well, I believe that they were researching CERN even back then. As well, it actually, our gang stalking probably started from the Nazis when they came over here during World War II. And sadly, our country, the Pentagon and the White House, made a deal. They had secret space program, and that encased all the satellites and UAV hovers and what have you. And they actually started eavesdropping on people then and going after people. That's how they got into power like they did. Bush Sr. was actually a sheriff. He was born in Nazi Germany. And as a matter of fact, if you go to hoaxofthecentury.com, you'll see photos of him in a Nazi Navy uniform as a young person, and his whole family. And you'll also see that he was friends in that living room with Bormann, Skorzeny, and Mengele, and others as well. So these were all, if you don't know who Mengele is, and I'm probably not pronouncing his name right, these were just the beginning of those that they brought over here without Americans knowing about it. And as a U.S. former historian, I didn't know either. Of course, they were members of secret societies, the Rosicrucians, which is Society of Rose. They say is even bigger in D.C. than the Freemasons. But it all stems together, going up the pyramid. I believe the one eye on top of the pyramid, which is Lucifer, is their artificial intelligence, CERN. It's ancient. It was around during the Egyptian era and prior, and I'm shocked that they used wireless technology back then, electric, and they actually have on the inside of the pyramid wall that if this got into the wrong hands in the future, it would be used, terribly against people. Well, it was. Regrettably, it seems as if, what I can tell by my research, and especially with WikiLeaks, everybody's involved. There isn't any level that we can go to for assistance. They're all involved, meaning our country is, all I can say is they sold their soul to the devil. And that's who they worship if you follow Freemasons. With CERN, they opened up stargates. And that's in their own words that they opened up portals. And you have to wonder why. And I really do believe by opening up them portals, that's where all this came from. And underground, hybriding and all. We're in the end times, and that's what opened it up for me. But this gang stalking, you have to sit and be terrorized physically. It's like being taken down into an incredible darkness of pain and agony, both physically, mentally. They take us down financially. I know with myself, they chased me out of all my homes till I was broke. And this was done in front of neighbors. Days later, I'd walk my dog out there, and 9 out of 10, nobody remembered. They didn't know what they had done. And to be in I can't keep going back to the subdivision, but, there was all kinds of people there, and I don't understand how so many. Did they not know that people were revving in and out of my driveway and flying over my rooftop, or did they just decide not to say anything? I'll never know. I did speak with one gentleman and his wife. I walked all the way up there. I knew that they knew, and she crawled into a ball into the corner, making I couldn't make out what sounds that she was making, and he stood there in total fear and said he had 2 daughters. And I said, they're killing me down there. Please, I'm by myself. He shook his head no, and he walked away. There was one point when the farmer behind me came over, knocked on the door, and with his head down, said he was sorry. I was speechless. I said, do you believe in God? He shook his head no. I said, do you believe in Christ? He shook his head no. Okay, I said, what do you believe in? Why are you doing this? He was literally trying to blow the back of my house up and other things. He said, they are making me do it. I said, who's they? He kept shaking his head no. I said, who is they? He wouldn't tell me. And then he was sorry. When he walked away, he went right in the back of the house and started up all over again. And the neighbors in the front joined in. And at the same time, by nightfall, I've got drones down at the rooftop level. And I could swear that they have a mind of their own, that they were predatory. They were out to get me. It was the strangest thing. I listened to recordings of myself back then, and I heard myself saying, did somebody open up the gates of hell? Well, that was before I knew that there was others involved and that there were other victims all over the country, if not the world. And I literally do believe that the gates of hell have been opened, and it's end times. When I realized that a few years ago, that opened everything up for me, even though this started in 1998, which is just year after Jade Helm, literally, they opened it up. It's human map terrain, sadly. They took satellites and GPS'd all of us. They really don't even need to put a microchip in you. However, in 1984, they acquired millions, later billions of nanochips, and they sprayed them down on every one of us for years and years with chemtrails, not to mention lithium and everything else. There's so much that's just not funny. Nanobots, nanosensors, and that's so the drones can find us. And these corporations are involved, like Lockheed Martin and others, and Raytheon, and it makes you wonder, why? How could they? Don't they have enough money? Until you realize that they are the owners, the top. They're the ones that are really big in these Freemason secret societies. So, it makes me wonder, are we blood sacrifices? Because there have been times when I've tied it to that. and I could look up in the sky, and they'd have like about 12 or 13 satellites, I guess, and they would be shaped a certain way. And I started noticing that, and every now and then I could look up, and there they were. I have looked up and seen in between the chem clouds, triangular shaped, unidentified flying objects. I don't know what else to say, but I have also learned that DARPA is probably thousands of years in the advance, and it makes you question who is DARPA. Really, what is really going on there? And I have my thoughts. So I believe we're dealing with humans and non-humans, and I didn't believe in aliens prior, but I do now. I believe that what they call aliens are fallen ones and Nephilim, and they have been bringing them back with CERN for years, and they've turned up CERN over the years. Each time I asked other TIs, when was your uptick? And they'd say 1995, 1994, 1998. It would always be like 1 year after they kicked CERN up even more, or the same year, 2011, 2014, there was upticks. And CERN is powerful. If you to get an understanding, you might want to listen to Anthony Patch. He has been in touch with me, and he has written that CERN is behind mind control and synchronization. So that's when, as a targeted individual, we can't even go to the bathroom without them revving vehicles somewhere out near where we can hear, whether it's right in front of our home or right down the road. And it took a while for me to realize that this is predictive programming, that they are utilizing CERN with their AI, artificial intelligence, and they're using D-Wave, makes it even more powerful, where they literally threw us into what I would call a simulation, and I think that's the term they use. And the simulation is the TI and the so-called Gang Stalkers, and your life is over. You have no privacy. Every step that you're making, when I hear the sonic sound, and I know that here comes a gang stalker, and I have to go upstairs to go to the bathroom, I will stop and turn my head, anything to try to break the progression of the predictive programming program, for lack of better terms. I will try to stop it. It'll put a thought in your head, and TIs some of them are getting thoughts put in their heads 24/7. Some are getting voices. They're using anti-God weapons on people. I mean, it's just, it's unfathomable. It's unimaginable, this type of painful confusion and pain that they're putting people in with magnetics and electromagnetic frequencies. And this is all going down around normal people's homes, average everyday people's homes, non-victims. It's going right. I have stood in a store with 3 women and their babies, and they were gang stalking from the air and the ground, all outside, and shooting directly at me. I had children all around me. They were holding these children up. So if it gives you an idea, they don't care. You understand? They don't care about your children. They don't care if I have an older person with me. They do not care. They are using everything in their home and car. Victims have to cut off the GPS in their vehicles. I know a nice woman who's all by herself with her pets, and she had to put copper sheeting in her vehicle on the top of her car so they wouldn't keep attacking her, so she could drive. This is the things that we're going through. These are women. These are innocent, defenseless women, and this is going on. So gang stalking, what I can see and what I experience, and thanks to people like Anthony Patch and I might add Scott Hensler, is the synchronization from this artificial intelligence, which I'm adamant is the equivalency of Lucifer, or let's just say maybe it's the vessel for the Antichrist. And that's anything else, Scott?
Well, I want to go back to the beginning. You were talking about chemtrail and the stuff that's in it. Morgellons disease is linked directly to that. If anyone's familiar with it, I've dealt with a lot of people that have things that are growing underneath their skin, anything that that looks like a starfish, some type of insect, things that look like glass, fibers, just a terrible, terrible situation. So when you're talking about the unmanned, we're talking about drones, we're talking about things that either are completely under artificial intelligence or controlled by remote. But when it comes to CERN, they were telling us about the God particle, the collider, but in reality, they're doing rituals. The occult is in there. So this is a controlled nuclear reactor, splitting the atom, basically being able to travel back and forth through the spirit realm, bringing the veil back. And this, by the way, Aleister Crowley, Prescott Bush, George Bush Jr., Sr., all of these people are all part of this. Laura Bush, by the way, I think it was Laura, the Bush Sr.'s wife or Bush Jr.'s mother, that's Aleister Crowley's daughter, who was referred to as the most evil person alive. So, all of these people that are involved in this has been part of the long network of time. Prescott Bush himself with the Rockefellers, he was banking the money, funding it to the concentration camps for the Nazis. Nothing has changed. So when they did Project Paperclip and they brought all these guys in, they started NASA, the CIA. You've got the mind control, Magnola, right? That was the man behind that. Yeah. Just absolutely amazing. But I wanted to mention that the Anunnaki really is what we're talking about, the reptilians, the Greys, the hybrids. Now, when we're talking about clones, we're also referring to the nanotechnology that's used to build them. Also, the super soldier. They're so far advanced. They're so, that the average person just can't even comprehend that. Now, you talked about D-Wave, scalar or unified field, which has to do with psychotronics. It's amazing what they've been doing to us over the years that, like yourself, Chris, and the people that you've been helping, they've got you, they've terrorized you for so long that many have given up. But you're a fighter. The people that have joined you are fighters. I'm a fighter. And they weren't really prepared for this, I think, and so they're not as far into society. Now, I want to mention something before I hand it back over to you. Obama, remember, he mentioned when he was running for office that he was going to have a 1 million-man army. But he never really specifically talked about what it was. Well, I'm sorry, I believe that this 1 million-man army are the Gang Stalkers. And this street theater that's taking place, it was their goal. And now that he's leaving office and this is in place, these are the Gang Stalkers. So they range from everybody that you can imagine, including your family members. And I think you've even experienced that yourself. Is that right, Chris?
Yeah. Well, I'll go back to when it actually started. I had a nice home. I was finishing up college. I was preparing to go in for my bachelor's degree and teach history. I also was working on historic preservation and at the Maryland Historical Society it was going on my 3rd year, I believe. And I had just achieved Phi Theta Kappa. And this is when it really came down on me. Neighbors that would invite me in for coffee, over for dinner, Christmas, really nice people. Overnight turned on me. Overnight. And they didn't just turn on me. Overnight, they became impish in the worst kind of way. I'd stand there and just watch them while they jump up and down, throw things at my house, rocks at my house all night long, pull up to my driveway, pull up to the front of my house, rev motors all night. And during this course, everywhere I went, I started watching the lights up in the sky as well, and I knew they were following me. I knew. I couldn't go. If I went to the mountains of Tennessee, where my other side of family was, people were zooming by me, and it was a gut. You just knew it had to do with you. My family turned on me overnight. That broke my heart. I was the only one in the family that everybody came to. Like when they gossiped about each other. I was neutral. I was always a good ear for everyone. I was the one everybody came to for advice. My phone went dead. It's still dead. Nobody talks to me anymore. I did try to contact my family recently, what's left of them, because all the good ones have been killed. And I don't know them anymore. It's like their maturity level has went down, down, down. I mean, and it has. So this causes us to be this is a total takedown. This is where your friends are taken from you, turned on you overnight. I had people that were talking to me that everybody said it was mental. It was everywhere. I went, every state, so it was about swirling in on me and they wanted to get me into a nut house, for lack of better terms. I still feel that way. I get attacked the most when I'm trying to brush my teeth, something that simple. I'm attacked that much more when I'm trying to brush my hair, when I'm trying to get dressed. So it's all about taking me down, even physically now, if that's all you got left. I had them follow me to the bank. Everywhere I went, there were strangers that would just come up to me and just look at me like they hated me. I mean, we're talking the kind of hate that you'd think I killed their pope. I mean, it was unbelievable. People that would walk up to me and I felt like they were going to just hit me or spit at me. I have had people try to start fights with me, and I mean brutal. I don't mean average. And I don't even, and I'm a little 5'2" woman, so imagine how I feel when I'm way down in Florida and I got guys in pickup trucks chasing me down. And I mean chasing me down. And guys, when I say are agents chasing me, I mean, it's terrifying. It really is. And to have drones in the sky after you as well, with UAVs and all, call them what you will. And then you go home and you have to act normal with what few neighbors you have left that aren't a part of it. People laugh at you. If they don't look at you like they hate you, they're going to just laugh at you, follow you. They would have people follow me in every aisle of the store for years who acted mentally ill. Children even. I've even had children participate, which was kind of heartbreaking. Sometimes it seemed like COINTELPRO. I did look into that, but this is much deeper than that. This is way off the charts. And if it is, it's certainly, now I know what they were practicing for all them years, because they, in fact, knew that end times was going to be here a long, long time ago. So they've been preparing for this. And I'm adamant on that. I'm adamant that it very well could be the Anunnaki. That the Nibiru system is back. And to me, that's the elephant in the room, Scott. That's just my opinion. When we look back on what few records we have, everything points to their return. And then the elite, they actually are adamant that they are either appointed by them by blood or for whatever reason, they are them. So, where there's smoke, there's fire. When I get to a point where 2 and 2 is 4, it can't be anything else. This is off charts. This, day one, I said, this is not of this world. What kind of technology? And I know about the chemtrails. And yes, there are even Morgellon victims that they go to hospitals and they're turned down. They're treated bad, and I know doctors are turning their heads. They're told not to help. This is the worst. This is Agenda 21 in the worst kind of way. And I've seen a lot of brave souls stand up and talk about it. And they're killing a lot of whistleblowers off. They are literally killing them off. There are scientists on this list as well, so you know. And these scientists have done nothing but good things to try to save people's lives, even in the military. And they are put on this. And, I mean, it just goes on and on. But I notice that the people that are involved, 99% of them, they all admit that it's like they're trying to get us to do something wrong. They want us to go out and lash out. And most will not do that because most of us are very good-hearted. We were the kind that would do something good, in the event that our country was taken over, and it has been. We would have done the right thing regardless. I know I would have, and everyone I've talked to has said the same thing. And we got a lot of good people being put on us, Scott. It's heartbreaking.
Well, I've mentioned that. When Blog Talk has a delay in it, and it always throws people off.
That's okay.
Yeah, the issue I've been trying to get out to everybody is to, don't believe everything that you think, don't believe everything that you feel, don't react. Okay, take a deep breath and assess the situation. Are you being electronically harassed, or is some, gang stalker trying to get your goat, so to speak? So just be very careful about that, because they do want you to overreact. Now, when I was on Caravan to Midnight, and I was talking about the DSM-5, in no way was I supporting the DSM-5. I was trying to point out it was a tool to diagnose those who are being gang stalked as being mentally ill. There's some kind of psychosis. Mm-hmm. And on the blogs and everything, the way that came out, they were trying to discredit me that I was actually trying to promote the DSM-5. So the way that they turn things around, that's part of the system, whether it's the bots on the internet that'll rewrite blogs. Then you have those that are actually brought in as disinformation specialists that do this. How have you done any research, Chris, on Project Soulcatcher? Is that anything that you've looked into?
Have
you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I read the
what do you
entire
know about
book. I read the book by Dr. Robert Duncan, who worked for the CIA, DOD, DARPA, NSA, and all. It's all of them, so you know, all agencies. And he worked there for a long time, and he was approached with 10 other scientists and told they were going to be using all this on Americans, and he was the only one that said no. Well, he was fired, and he hit the road and became a whistleblower, and he was on Jesse Ventura's Conspiracy Theories, whom not long thereafter, that show was dropped, sadly. And Jesse Ventura was a Minnesota governor as well, and he is very outspoken about this for us. I read the book, and during the period I was reading it, it's all about mind swapping, mind hiving. It's a major mind hive where they can take someone on the East Coast and the West Coast. Matter of fact, they can take a whole town. And because of the CERN and the HARP and the chemtrails and the towers and the meters and cell phones, all the signals and all, they can literally take an entire area and hive their minds and then get them to all turn on somebody. That's number one. And then the gang stalking is CIA scientists running the show with CERN in the background with the synchronization. And believe it or not, the directed energy weapons being used are run by AI itself. And allegorists are used as well. I mean, you don't have to be on a physical computer to run the allegorist to get yourself on a list, because it's in the air. Like I said the other night, you can make a cell phone call around to the other side of the world to somebody. So it's in the air. If you can understand, it's traveling that airway. And there are victims that are coming on, and they don't even know what they've done. Many of them I've spoken with weren't even on the internet. They were never political, nothing. These are average, middle-class women and men, just average. But, again, they're thrown in with whistleblowers, and there's a very famous NSA agent who is a whistleblower, and he's being electronically harassed as well, Thomas Drake. And I was shocked to read that, but he is. I checked it out in various places. So CERN is the backbone behind the manipulation of the gaslighting, and it's really destroying our inner spiritual compass. That's the number one. I mean, if like it says in the Bible, don't fear what can harm your body. Fear what can harm your soul. That's my biggest concern, and it always was with Sky, because this remote neuromonitoring, which is just, coming in and vibrating your whole body and placing thoughts in your head, that's that computer. It's, a lot of victims think it's their neighbors. It's not your neighbors. It is not. If it is, your neighbor's been taken over, sadly. They can't do that to me. Every now and then they try. It gets nowhere. I'm not going to buy that someone in a store is just there as a little old. When they had little old ladies not long back follow me in a store and try to victimize me in there and persecute me, but they don't act themselves. They're acting like demons, to be honest. I knew that it wasn't those little old ladies per se physically, and had it not been taken over. It's my opinion they got nanobots in their brains, and it's also smart dust. And I think whenever they do an air stalk near me, it's to rev up the smart dust. And I'm adamant on that. And it can also, they're giving power to the beast. This system is known as the beast system. It's called beast technology. And when you hear the gang stalkers, they're giving power to the beast. So you don't want to respond. You don't want to engage. And it wants you to engage. Don't do it, because then we're giving power to the beast as well. And in these last days, that's exactly what they want. They want as less people as possible. I mean, think about it. If they're the beast system, then the opposite is the Christ system, the God, our real creator, not their false antichrist, their Lucifer. So, and these fallen ones, they're on their last days. They don't have much more time. And like Enoch said, they're doing it simply because they can. And that's the basis of it, that they are the fallen ones. The Nephilim are right from the fallen ones, and they know they only have a certain amount of time left. And it's been years, and I understand tribulation, and we're about over. So it's been at least the last 7.5 years we've been in tribulation. I'm sorry, that we're not heading into it. We've been there. And I can attest to seeing it slowly. I have to admit it was longer than 7 years what I started witnessing. But this terrible technology that's being weaponized, I mean, I'm going to be honest, I believe that the air is literally, everything is weaponized. I can walk through the house. There's not one electrical outlet that won't hit me. Imagine, how long could you go with that? They might go a while where they will put a kill code on you, I call it, and that kill code is like where it's going to take you right down where you feel like you're at death's door, literally. They'll put thoughts in your head where they want you to denounce God and Christ. I'm assuming, this is where we're at with this. And I have fought them in my mind where they were flying back and forth. This was about 1.5 years ago. And I had to visualize Christ hanging on a cross for me and my praying to him while they were entering my mind like unbelievable. I mean, it was horrific. It was just the worst persecution ever. It's a wonder I didn't have suicidal thoughts. And that leads me to where last year, everywhere I went, every time I walked into the kitchen, I'd hear something say, suicide, you're a useless eater. And it didn't take me long to figure out that that's where the water, the pipeline, the most electronic items in the house were, the refrigerator and all, and there's a window. So, and I'd look up, and right there was you want to call it a satellite or a UAV hover, and they have them on us, and drones, and towers, and keep on going. And our smart meters, and our electrical meters. And that is run through CERN, I might add. I have done my research on that. So they've got control of at least 1/3 of our homes in this country, if not more now. So I had to put it in my mind that, it's a computer talking to me. It is evil, yes. But in order to get through this hopelessness and despair and this persecution that's, off charts, off worldly, just tell yourself it's a computer and keep telling yourself that, and don't respond to it. The more you respond to it, the more it's going to connect with you, and you might just get attacked even more, because again, they're operating a computer on us that is Luciferian, to say the least. So don't respond. Do your best. Turn your head. If this thing can tell our thoughts a minute prior. So if I'm getting ready to do something, then it puts in my head to go ahead and do it. Most of the times I'm going to change my mind and not do it, just because. That's just me. I'm going to be ornery like that, because I don't want to feed the beast. That's the whole point. So don't feed the beast, and don't let it give you any suicide thoughts, and don't feel like it's over. You're not alone. There's, I have a gut feeling there's more TIs out there than we know, because this can hit you so hard that you don't even know how to contact anybody.
Yes. Yes. I wanted to bring up gaslighting as a form of psychological abuse, normally by narcissists in order to instill in their victims an extreme sense of anxiety and confusion to the point they no longer trust their own memory, thoughts, and perceptions. There was even a play on this. So if you've ever been in a relationship with a narcissist or a psychopath, borderline personality disorder, it's kind of the same thing. Every minute, every second, you're questioning yourself, and that environment, the extreme anxieties, is absolutely amazing. Since Lucifer and all the others are not omnipresent, they needed this technology to do this. The cell phones, artificial intelligence, the way they've done the programs, the duplex system. And with the nanobots, by the way, being brought to us through aerosol, a lot of them will run through the body. They won't last long, so they need to continue. So you may be seeing a lot of chemtrail being done in one particular area. And, I wanted to mention the old movie Time Machine that was done in the 50s. I saw it in 1963. I'm 60 years old. I was just a small kid. But it was the same thing, the hive mentality. They would give off a whistle and everybody would, in a trance, go into this cave, and they would get their selected people so they could kill them and eat them. And we also need to remember that Berkeley is really the home of a lot of this. Berkeley over there in California, DARPA, they got a lot of the homeless people there to train them to do this. So it's just amazing. Now, real quickly, the alpha, beta, theta, gamma that our brain is, that we have in our brains, we need to remember that we are electrical or electrochemical. Okay, the basic building block of nervous system is the nerve cell called a neuron. Okay, these are chemical messengers, chemical synapses that, since they're electrically charged, that the radio waves, and depending on what frequency, whether it's ELF, extremely low, all the way up through microwave, that because of the artificial intelligence and what's called a carrier, that they can read your thoughts, they can visually see through your eyes, they can hear what you hear. Just like Chris said, they're a step ahead of you on the way you think because they're actually injecting into you to trigger you to go one way or another. Okay, so being cantankerous as we are, which I think has to do with some of the O-negative people or the negative blood people, it's a little harder for them to do that. So this stuff is real. It's referred to as V2K, psychotronics, voice-to-skull technology. It's out there. The cell phones, whether it's drones, whether it's the satellite technology, iridium, it's for real. Now, the other, you were talking about shielding. Now, I was in radio engineering. I dealt with radio wave, RFI, for attenuation, for even enhancement or augmentation, and it's a science. So just throwing some aluminum in and doing a couple things isn't necessarily going to stop it. There are some people who put a lot of effort and a lot of money into stopping all this. We had remember, Chris, when you were on before, we had another gal on that they've spent thousands of dollars shielding their room, and they've had to keep shielding because they keep turning the power up. So it depends on how much power they're shooting your way on what you do to stop it. So it isn't just cut and dry. Right. But we're going to continue to get that information out as much as possible. Now, I'm a TI. I've got a noise that's in my head that sounds like, I call it the flyback noise, which the old color TVs used to give off this high-pitched whine. And there's sometimes that it's so loud that I can't, if I'm in a store somewhere and they've got music playing, like elevator music, I don't even hear it because it's so loud. And it really gets old, but, I'm kind of set in my ways, and I know I've got a job to do. And so I have my good days, bad days, but, I'm not done, and I'm going to continue, and I know, Chris, you are as well, because you certainly have been through the ringer. But, see, this is the thing, ladies and gentlemen. You were a child once. So this is the way God sees us, okay? So when you see a child that's being abused, neglected, just being tormented, that should infuriate you. And so the very fact that these animals, these beasts, these narcissists, these psychopaths, these reptilians are even doing that to humanity should irritate you. But of course, with GMO foods and again, with the different psychotronics placed onto us, the mind controls, a lot of people are dumbed down and they're not getting angry. Because I don't know how old you are, Chris, but I certainly remember when they were opposing the Vietnam War. The kids that were a little bit older than me, that were towards college age, they were rioting, they were picketing, they were fighting to make the war stop. Well, you don't see that anymore. You see different types of anger, and unfortunately, that's where we're heading to. So just as Chris said, don't let them get your goat. Okay, take a deep breath, step back, assess the situation, and understand that this is a type of mind control. Don't let them have it. If someone abuses you, if you're in a bad relationship, and you get out of it, you want to let go of that anger, that frustration, that bitterness, because if you don't, they still won. Okay, so that's where we're at. But never allow yourself to be abused. We've got a couple of minutes. Chris, you want to finish out with something here?
Oh, thanks, Scott. I understand how it feels to feel like you're being led to a slaughter by the most inhumane and cruel government ever. But don't look at them as a government anymore because they're not governing anything. Most of them are underground, if not all. So what's that tell you what we've got on us? We now know that that they are of the most extremely depraved levels of diseased and damaged. The words, the terminology just doesn't cut it. But they are diseased and damaged beyond belief. They are the ones that are depraved, not you. They are the ones from the darkest and deepest hell, the deepest, darkest shadow, not us. So consider that as they are descending on their way down back into where they came from, the realms of hell, that we fearlessly face the dark experiences that they're brutally sending on us, these energies and what have you, and rise above it in them last days. Rise above it. Die on your feet, not your knees, and you're gonna do so for God. Stay light. They're dark. Stay light. No, don't let them take you down. They're depraved. We aren't. They're the ones in the darkness, not us. They can't stand you or I because we're not of them. They're not going to attack the realm. They're going to come after, in the last days, 2 and 2 is 4. They're going after the warriors of God. And I know for a fact that there is something better. I know there is because it came to me for 2 days straight, and it had a message. And the message was clear. It told me to hang in there, love and kindness, and it was weeping horribly that I was crying, and I can't define that level that came to me, but it did. I looked online for a long time to try to find what was that, because on the second day I could almost make it out, and it appears to be a cherub, maybe. I don't know. I'm just saying, and it was not them. This was nothing but good. So, and to be honest, in the beginning of my journey, when I was a teenager, before they started coming in and out of my room and trying to literally steal my soul, something came to me and told me that everything was going to be okay. And recently, I have since found that was what God was sending messengers down to tell his remnants that. So I'm here to tell you, we very well could be a remnant because Dr. Polak, who's now passed on, gave to Dr. Green an interview that he didn't want released until he died. He died in 2010. And in his interview, he clearly said that when the NSA came to him, and they were extremely high level, he couldn't find out who they were, and he was used to having them kinds come to him. They wanted him to come up with a nano chip of some kind, and they wanted millions. And his statement was, at that time, he didn't know what the biblical remnants were. And that's what he left us with, just that line. So I did some research on that, and it does appear that that's what we are. the remnants of a biblical error that they want to get rid of, just like they did in the prior times. So again, don't be in fear of what can harm your body. Be in fear of what's going to harm your soul. That's your mind, your spirit. So force yourself. What I do is sometimes when I'm getting attacked the most during the day, I get up and I go to the store. I mean, I'll just go somewhere just to walk around, and I always feel better. So try it. Don't let them. You can't let them feed on your fear. You got to let go of the fear. I'm begging, let go of the fear and just give it a try. Say that you're going to be a warrior for God tomorrow on the busiest day, Saturday, and you're going to go out, gang stalking and all, and you're going to go to the store, and you're going to make it through. And if you don't, you don't. But if you do, you do. You see what I mean? And so try it. Just give it a shot. Scott?
Yeah. Well, evil does what evil is, acting out their ugly nature like demons.
Mm-hmm.
There's no negotiation. We're all in this together, no matter what your belief is, no matter, what your heritage is. If you are made in the image of God, you're the reptilian's enemy. And so we're all going to be dealing with this. There's millions now, but it's only started. So just be prepared for it. Thank you again tonight for joining. Chris, thank you for being on. I'll have you on again when we get some more information. I want to let everyone know I'm going to be trying to get the callbacks tomorrow. I mentioned about that I'll be ministering tomorrow with a situation with a little girl. So just be patient. I'll get to you. But again, thank you for supporting this ministry and what I do, the show. Because no matter what the changes have just taken place, I know that some people will move on to whatever. But remember that I still minister. I still deal with the sick. I still deal with those who need deliverance and bind up the brokenhearted. So anything that you can do to help me out. And again, if you need my information, email me. Oh, by the way, Chris, do you want them to, if they have any questions and want to talk to you, do you want them to come through me and I'll make contact, or what do you want to do? Okay.
Yeah, that'll be fine, right. Scott. No problem.
Oh, okay, so we'll do that. Then if you have any questions, then I'll be the go-to guy. All right, Chris. Again, people just understand that it's not over yet. God's in control, and just be ready. All right. Good night.
Okay.
You're listening to the all-new KBLU Radio Network. That's the Blue Raven Network. Visit our website at www.oneblueraven.weebly.com.
Often duplicated, never replicated. You're listening to the all-new KBLU Radio Network, Blue Raven Network.